Chief Anchor George Stephanopoulos.
Good evening. We're coming on the air right now because the House impeachment managers have gathered to deliver their article of impeachment to the Senate for the second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump. There you see the scene at the House right now where the House managers, 9 of them, will President Trump with incitement of insurrection to the Senate for delivery to the Senate. That article of impeachment will be read on the Senate floor. Again, this is something we have never seen before in all of American history. We want to go to our senior congressional correspondent, Rachel Scott, there on Capitol Hill. Rachel, walk us through what's going to happen this evening.
Tonight, we are going to see those 9 House impeachment managers walk that article of impeachment charging former President Donald Trump with incitement of insurrection over to the Senate chamber. And, George, this is the very same Senate chamber where we saw nearly 3 weeks ago mobs violently try and break in. And then after that, tomorrow we will see these jurors, the senators, the lawmakers here be sworn in, as well as the Senator Patrick Leahy, who will now be presiding over this. Now
There we see the House impeachment managers walking over. Thank you, Rachel. They'll be led by JAME Raskin, Congressman JAME Raskin of Maryland, constitutional law professor for more than 25 years at American University, member of the House Judiciary Committee. He will be the lead manager as you see them walk through the rotunda. There had been some talk that they would have to walk with Capitol Police escorts. Of course, this all stemmed from those violence events, the domestic terrorists who took siege of the Capitol on January 6th. 1 week later, the House impeached President Trump for inciting that insurrection. Last week, of course, President Biden became the President of the United States on January 20th, and now this second impeachment trial of President Trump will take place. There will be a bit of a delay after the House managers walk this over, after the article is read. The senators will be sworn in tomorrow, but the trial will not begin until the week of February 8th. That's by mutual agreement between the Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer and the Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell, who had some strong words for President Trump, and unlike his first impeachment, has not ruled out convicting President Trump. But John Carl, our senior Washington correspondent, getting a conviction here, an uphill fight.
George, the math is you need 2/3 of the Senate to vote to convict. 50 Democrats, you're likely to get all 50 of them. That means you need 17 Republicans to vote that Donald Trump is guilty and to vote to convict him. I see that as almost a 0% probability. In the immediate aftermath of the riot, it looked like a real possibility. And look, Mitch McConnell has not said how he would vote. But what you're seeing most of the Republicans say is that they don't believe that this is constitutional. Now that Donald Trump has left office, there's really no need to vote to convict him and remove him from office because he's already gone.
And there you see they have approached the Senate doors right now. They will be announced by the acting Sergeant at Arms. Of course, the Sergeant at Arms for both the House and the Senate were relieved of duty after the events of January 6th. Congressman Raskin, you see him right there, lost a son on New Year's Eve. A 25-year-old son to suicide, was actually in the House chamber on January 6th with his other daughter. Described as some of the most terrifying moments of his life, chosen by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to lead this effort right now. And he will be reading that article of impeachment once they walk into the Senate chamber. There you see the President pro tem of the Senate, Patrick Leahy, who, as Rachel Scott said, will be presiding over the trial. Let's listen in. Familiar sight to all you remember is 1 year ago, a little over a year ago, when the House impeachment managers walked over the first article of impeachment against President Trump. Now, the new majority leader, Senator Chuck Schumer of New York.
I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be vitiated.
Without objection. The hour of 7 p.m. having arrived, the acting Sergeant at Arms will present the managers on the part of the House of Representatives.
Mr. President and members of the Senate, I announce the presence of the managers on the part of the House of Representatives to conduct proceedings on behalf of the House concerning the impeachment of Donald John Trump, former President of the United States.
The managers on the part of the House will be received and escorted to the well of the Senate.
Nine impeachment managers for the House. There were 7 in President Trump's first trial. 13 in the impeachment trial of President Clinton.
Sergeant at Arms will make the proclamation.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons are commanded to keep silent on pain of imprisonment while the House of Representatives is exhibiting to the Senate of the United States an article of impeachment against Donald John Trump, former President of the United States.
The managers on the part of the House will proceed.
Congressman Raskin, Jamie Raskin of Maryland.
Mr. President, the managers on the part of the House of Representatives are here and present and ready to present the article of impeachment, which has been preferred by the House of Representatives against Donald John Trump, former President of the United States. The House adopted the following resolution, which with the permission of the Senate, I will read. House Resolution 40 in the House of Representatives, United States, January 13th, 2021, resolved that Mr. Raskin, Ms. DeGette, Mr. Cicilline, Mr. Castro of Texas, Mr. Swalwell, Mr. Liu, Ms. Plaskett, Mr. Neguse, and Ms. Dean are appointed managers to conduct the impeachment trial against Donald John Trump, President of the United States, that a message be sent to the Senate to inform the Senate of the appointments, and that the managers so appointed may, in connection with the preparation and the conduct of the trial, exhibit the article of impeachment to the Senate and take all other actions necessary, which may include the following: employing legal, clerical, and other necessary assistance, and incurring such other expenses as may be necessary to be paid from amounts available to the Committee on the Judiciary under applicable expense resolutions or from the applicable accounts of the House of Representatives. 2, sending for persons and papers and filing with the Secretary of the Senate on the part of the House of Representatives any pleadings in conjunction with or subsequent to the exhibition of the articles of impeachment that the managers consider necessary. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House of Representatives. With the permission of the Senate, I will now read the article of impeachment. House Resolution 24 in the House of Representatives, United States, January 13th, 2021. Resolved that Donald John Trump, President of the United States, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and that the following article of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate. Article of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives of the United States of America in the name of itself and of the people of the United States of America against Donald John Trump, President of the United States of America, in maintenance and support of its impeachment against him for high crimes and misdemeanors. Article 1, incitement of insurrection. The Constitution provides that the House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment, and the President shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Further, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution prohibits any person who has, quote, engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States from holding any office under the United States, unquote. In his conduct while President of the United States and in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of the President of the United States and to the best of his ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, Donald John Trump engaged in high crimes and misdemeanors by inciting violence against the government of the United States, in that on January 6, 2021, pursuant to the 12th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the House of Representatives, and the Senate met at the United States Capitol for a joint session of Congress to count the votes of the Electoral College. In the months preceding the joint session, President Trump repeatedly issued false statements asserting that the presidential election results were the product of widespread fraud and should not be accepted by the American people or certified by state or federal officials. Shortly before the joint session commenced, President Trump addressed a crowd at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C. There, he reiterated false claims that we won this election and we won it by a landslide. He also willfully made statements that in context encouraged and foreseeably resulted in lawless action at the Capitol, such as, if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Thus incited by President Trump, members of the crowd he had addressed in an attempt to, among other objectives, interfere with the joint session's solemn constitutional duty to certify the results of the 2020 presidential election, unlawfully breached and vandalized the Capitol, injured and killed law enforcement personnel, menaced members of Congress, the Vice President, and congressional personnel, and engaged in other violent, deadly, destructive, and seditious acts. President Trump's conduct on January 6, 2021 followed his prior efforts to subvert and obstruct the certification of the results of the 2020 presidential election. Those prior efforts included a phone call on January 2, 2021, during which President Trump urged the Secretary of State of Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, to, quote, find enough votes to overturn the Georgia presidential election results, and threatened Secretary Raffensperger if he failed to do so. In all this, President Trump gravely endangered the security of the United States and its institutions of government. He threatened the integrity of the democratic system, interfered with the peaceful transition of power, and imperiled a co-equal branch of government. He thereby betrayed his trust as president to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore, Donald John Trump, by such conduct, has demonstrated that he will remain a threat to national security, democracy, and the Constitution if allowed to remain in office, and has acted in a manner grossly incompatible with self-governance and the rule of law. Donald John Trump thus warrants impeachment and trial, removal from office, and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House of Representatives. Mr. President, that completes the exhibition of the article of impeachment against Donald John Trump, President of the United States. The managers request that the Senate take order for the trial. The managers now request leave to withdraw.
Thank you, Mr. Raskin. And the Senate will duly notify the House of Representatives when it is ready to proceed with the trial. Thank you.
The article of impeachment delivered right there. Congressman Jamie Raskin, lead House impeachment manager. Those members of the House, the impeachment managers, the 9 impeachment managers, will now withdraw to the House. The Senate will reconvene tomorrow, where all the senators will be sworn in as jurors in the trial. But as we said, that trial will be postponed until the week of February 8th, giving President Trump time to prepare his defense. I want to bring in Dan Abrams as the president is preparing his defense. We heard John Carl say right now, at least, we know those votes aren't there. The question is what kind of evidence will come forward between now and when the trial begins.
Yeah, I mean, because everything that we just heard is known. We know what the president said at the rally. We know a lot of what the president did and said leading up to the rally. And according to John Carl, that's not enough for most of the Republican jurors. So the question becomes, what else might they find? And I think the only thing that they could find that might make the difference would be something that the president did or didn't do on January the 6th. Not leading up to it, not in the days before, but specifically there on the 6th of January. And that's going to be the question. Can they find anything else? Is there anything else to find?
And Kate Shaw, also our legal analyst, professor of law at Cardozo Law School. It appears that many of the Republican senators want to avoid that question at all, focus on process. They say it's unconstitutional to impeach a former president. Some are raising a question. The fact that Chief Justice Roberts is not going to preside is another reason that this trial is unconstitutional.
Well, George, of course, it's right. We've never had a trial for a former president, but impeachment is a rarely used mechanism in our scheme. We had only ever impeached 2 presidents prior to the administration of Donald Trump, and impeachment is available for other federal officials, and there have been trials of former federal officials, just not former presidents. So in 1876, a cabinet secretary was impeached and tried after resigning. The Senate considered the question of whether it had jurisdiction to hold the trial, but concluded that it did. And, you know, I'm not sure there's any really decisive evidence that the president's treatment should be different. If the misconduct happens in office, the argument goes, surely the power to impeach, which is the constitutional remedy for high crimes and misdemeanors, should extend to former presidents.
Kate Shaw, thanks very much. Finally, Terry Moran, our senior national correspondent. I don't think it's quite sunk in just how extraordinary this is. We've just watched a president of the United States impeached for a second time, this time for incitement of insurrection, seditious acts against the government he led.
It is extraordinary, George, and there's great drama in this moment and in the coming trial, but there's also dread, I think. Our previous impeachments have been about policy, Andrew Johnson, about personal behavior, Bill Clinton, and to some degree behavior in office with Donald Trump. This is about the insurrection, an attack on our democracy. There's bloodshed, the deaths mentioned in the article of impeachment itself, and beneath that, this struggle we've been having for a long time, this extreme polarization. Not about the direction of our country, but about the nature of the country, the very reality that we live in. And I think resolving that through this is going to be impossible. It's another chapter of these extraordinary politics, the kinds of politics that you see, frankly, in democracies that are in crisis.
Right, where the jurors themselves, the managers bringing the charges, we're all witnesses to the events in question. Terry Moran, thanks very much. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.